to do a roll call? Or who does the roll calls? Who's our person?
You do.
Me? Okay. All right, so we have Mark Strong,
I'm here.
Bob Shay,
Here.
Ben Vitale,
Yep.
Elaine Daly,
Yes. Here.
and I think that's it. I think that's it, and I'm present as well. So Sheila, is Sheila here? Is she online? Sheila. Actually, we'll start our national anthem. Sorry, we'll start that, we'll start our pledge allegiance.
Because I'm not saying.
We're gonna be led by Todd.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Okay, we can start. What I'm gonna do is do a little differently. Appreciate everybody's patience. I've been here in probably 2 sessions, so I thank you, Lane. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each of our departments, the board of elections. Do they have any reports or anything that they would want to add? Which would be John and Keith. Are they available online or anything they would like to discuss during this meeting?
Don't see either one.
Okay,
I just want to get a motion for the minutes.
okay, we get a motion to approve the minutes for August 14th, 2024.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Sheila Smith, is she available? Does she want to add anything to our government ops meeting? Okay, so Fred, of already, there's no updates from Fred. Brian Scanlon, you have no updates as well?
Not gonna take long, is it?
Yep.
So I don't have financial updates as of yet. Still working on it. It's a little difficult to get those prepared on time. They just finally got the month end done today. Pretty relative to the past months that we had. So still, as I reported last one, still behind a little bit, probably $30,000-$40,000 towards our target for the year, as far as revenue is concerned. And I relate a lot of that to the closure of the county office building, the downtime that we had. More on that topic, I would like to extend an invite to not just the government ops committee, but to all the legislators to come visit us at our temporary locations we're at right now. If you weren't aware, the county clerk's office is operating alongside the historian's office, in their office. And the DMV is still out there, the sheriff's office, thanks to his hospitality out there. I invite you to come out and see where we're at, because I know there's a lot of tough decisions moving forward. I know there was a tough decision last month that had to be made. But I really need everybody to visit what we're going through right now and the schools that we're working with. I gotta commend my staff for doing a tremendous job on getting up and running with nothing, operating with nothing. Reaching out to other counties and getting other equipment and whatnot. IT has been terrific in helping us get up and running. And like I said, the sheriff's office giving us space and accommodating us along with the health department. We're very cramped in the space we're in. Staff has done a tremendous job in getting us through these few months, and it's worked on a temporary basis. But this can't last on a long-term basis. And when I say long-term, we're talking about a couple of years at this point, which I think a lot of us kind of had an idea going forward, but now we're here. So if you come visit our places and see how we're operating, I think you'll better understand our needs and our need to get out to a different, more permanent location, so we can operate at full capacity. Right now, we're operating probably 85% of our capacity, which means that we're losing on quite a bit of revenue. Still not able to do that. We're deferring business to other places. DMV, we're doing most everything that we can, with the exception of permit testing, which is another decent part of our revenue. So we're missing out on it. We missed 3 4 months on that already. I really don't want to miss any more out on that. So I encourage you to come visit us. Reach out to me if you want me to meet you at one of the locations. Or please feel free to stop by and see what we're operating with. Any questions for me?
You have been advised in some way that looking for space for your operation
Yes.
is started, or there's a tentative plan, is that?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I failed to mention that. Steve Lynch, our county manager, has been very informative. We talk on a weekly basis, if not every few days. And he fills me on to what progress is, what we're looking at doing, and takes my input. So I appreciate it. But there are places I know that's being looked at. Some are more ideal than others. But Steve and the operations team and I are trying to work through that, and I know it's going to be coming to ledge at some point here, hopefully in the near future. But it goes to my point that if you come out and see what we're operating with right now, the better you need to get to a more permanent and better working environment.
And you had your budget meeting, preliminary budget meeting this week.
Right.
And certainly if the state hadn't started to reimburse for all that they're reimbursing for, not just in person, things would be far worse for.
Hours. What Elaine's alluding to is the retention at the state change. So we are getting we're getting a better online retention at this point than we ever did before. So that's helping to offset some of the
Right.
revenue.
Yeah.
Yes, good point.
Well, Brian, I want to think, I did visit that space that you guys have been in. It's very difficult to work in that environment. I appreciate your guys showing up every day in that environment. It's not typical office environment. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll share that. Anybody else for me? Thank you.
Tom, but I just got one question for you that I've always saw in here, but it really, when you have 380 new tickets and you have 90% and there's 414, how do you see the 80?
I'm sorry, so I should correct that. The 380 are the result tickets. The 414 are the total tickets. that
Okay.
were- Yeah, so we've closed out 90% of those.
Okay, all right. So the numbers flipped.
Yes, I stand correct there at the top. Sorry about that.
Okay.
The only other piece outside of my report, I did want to touch on, while I'm starting and planning and implementation of some projects in terms of 63 Genesee Street, our IT team is actively working on deploying a new phone system for the county. So our contract runs out with our current provider, which is 8x8. We're moving to Ring Central, which will provide us better service, better customer service and better overall service to the county. And that plan is underway right now. So we are going to be starting that migration with IT within the next couple of weeks, and then we're rolling that off department by department through the end of December. So it's one of our projects that we're kind of actively working on right now. And other than that, it's obviously we're all centered around 63 Genesee Street, making that happen.
Mark?
I see in your report,
Yes.
says coordinated with the 911, migrate the backup 911 site to the Wasco firefighting.
Yes.
Can you expand on that for me personally?
Yeah, so this goes back, I was kind of trying to keep a running tally of the relocation bullet points that we've accomplished over the last few months. So what we did was back in, I want to say it was late June, early July timeframe, we coordinated with Denise Spindler to get some equipment placed at the Wasco Fire Department to facilitate some sort of a backup plan, right, for 911. So we placed 3 laptops that have access to the CAD, and we placed 2 laptops that have access to Entrada, the phone system, in that location. So I would have to rely on Denise to speak on what that looks like in terms of her department, but in a pinch, she could have staff placed over there. They can take calls, they can dispatch, etc. for that.
I've been told that they have one fully functional work center, I'll call it that, in an office. And then there are two other workstations, we'll call them that are in another room, and they are not quote unquote functional. If we had to go to the backup center, we would have to, there would have to be some work to get them up and going. Now, I don't know what that means,
Okay.
because I'm not an IT guy. Don't play one on TV either. But this goes back to down for a matter of time with the phone systems. I know somebody hit a pole, knocked out some lines for the phone system.
Correct.
And could the 911 center, the backup center in a Wasco Fire Department, could that have been used that day?
So as far as I understand it, with the equipment that we helped place at that location, it could have been used in some capacity, yes. Could it have, been a fully functional duplicate of what is at the public safety building? No.
My concern is that if, it's all what if.
Sure.
And I'm, knock on wood, I hope we never have to find this out. But should there be an issue, storm, whatever, and our system or our 911 center goes down for whatever reasons, can we rely on that backup system?
So again, I would rely on Denise a little bit for her expertise in this, but there is a backup in place that if anything were to happen to the primary site in terms of phone service, the backup plan actually worked as designed, right? So all of the calls were forwarded to Seneca County.
Yep.
That is in the backup plan. And at that point, Denise did activate her staff to move to Seneca County,
Yep.
where we have access. We can launch the CAD, we can dispatch calls, we can take calls. So that's what I would recommend in terms of a more, true backup plan is to activate Seneca County.
Go ahead. Thank you, Tom.
That's kind of what I thought was being discussed. At this point, until we have something else, this is a doable, Seneca County is our real
Yes.
functioning backup plan.
And I certainly don't want to speak for Denise, but.
No,
yes.
I'm not asking anybody to do that. Thank you.
Of course,
very much.
of course.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Good afternoon. I have my report as submitted. One addition is at the end of August, we were able to work with the Rev and sponsor veterans and guests to attend Bandstand, which was a play about World War II veterans coming home and starting their own band as a way to cope with their experiences in World War II. And I was reached out to, and I wasn't able to go, but from all the feedback I got, it was just a great success, and people that were able to go really enjoyed it. So that's what we're trying to do, is use the Joseph P. Dwyer funds to get people out socializing more, and I'm finally hitting a point where I've got a groove going where we're able to do more events as we go forward.
That's great.
Any questions for Kevin?
I do have a resolution. Is that?
The only one for this committee.
How about that? So this is to fill a part-time position. It's completely funded with the New York State Joseph P. Dwyer program to hire a veteran peer mentor and veteran service officer to support our operations. And I'm very fortunate, I don't want to go into too many details, but I've got a very good candidate who I think can really help me out as we go forward. I've been talking about this Robert Stryker AMVETS post and a few other initiatives I'm working on. And this individual has some abilities that other people that have been able to hire don't have. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to.
Hey, Kevin, what's the person's job?
What's that?
What's their job duty and how many hours you anticipate?
So it's part-time position. We're a 35-hour a week. So however you do that math, it's no more than, I've
17
budgeted.
and a quarter or something?
What's that?
Is it 17 and a quarter if you're,
Yeah.
yes.
Exactly. So it's $15,000 is what I've budgeted for this position each year. And I've got other people who are also, I've got a Vietnam veteran. I can call on to talk to Vietnam veterans. I've got another younger global war and terrorism veteran who goes out in this court talking to that age group. This veteran, I don't want to get into the details of it, has been through some trials, let's just say, and I think it'd be a good fit for what I'm trying to do with the agency.
Good, good. So while you're here, why don't we do the resolution?
I'll move BW1 or
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any objection, any things? Hearing none? Resolution passed.
Thank you.
Then we need a motion to adjourn. I think that's it.
Before we do that, I do have a issue I'd like to address if it's possible. In the paper on September 5th, there was an article in the Citizen. The chairwoman was quoted, "County's leadership explored sites, but two unnamed legislators who served on the resource group were hard-nosed on the other sites." Can anybody tell me who those two unnamed legislators are here today?
Well, the chairperson isn't here, so I can only speak for myself. This is the first I've heard of that, even the article. So, I think that's a question for the chairperson. But they didn't come from this committee, right?
Well, it came from a quote that was in the paper about the building that we discussed, an article the next day.
I mean, this is for the record, I can only speak for myself. I didn't say anything to the paper.
Can anybody tell me who this resource group is?
Resource group that I know of was here, most of them
employees.
are employees.
Right.
And they were the ones that were here for the executive session the other night. I don't believe there was any legislators on the resource group. And furthermore, I don't always believe it's in the newspaper.
Well, I'm just saying that's what was quoted.
No, I get you, but
And then there was another quote.
Accurate.
I'm sorry that Aileen's not here, but there was another quote in the paper that said, she said, "At the end of the day, it's our obligation and duty to serve the public." Well, all I can say is when we discussed all these buildings and stuff, I don't believe there was any bipartisanship and there's no transparency because none of the four legislators that are sitting here were ever spoken to prior to the Thursday night meeting, of which I was not in attendance because I had a prior obligation. I received a phone call well after 7:30 the night before the full ledge meeting from the chairwoman, and she wanted to know, if I had any issues. And when I discussed them, I was basically said, well, we've already discussed that. Decisions have already been made. Well, we talk about transparency here all the time and we talk about bipartisanship, but there certainly wasn't any in this juncture with this issue that seems to be pretty severe. There's articles in the paper, lots of comments, and I'd just like to know why. Why wasn't one of us four sitting on that committee to go look at these buildings, other buildings?
Well,
Can we say something?
I do want to answer that. Include me in that four, because I found out the same day that you guys found out during the special meeting. So I didn't have no knowledge prior to that as well. So there were no discussions, what I found out was the same lifetime that I found out. So I can't speak for everybody else, I can speak for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So,
And I do think, and I don't think the answer will be no. I don't believe there was other legislators part of any of the buildings or whatever opportunities were looked at. But I do think we should get an idea of if the message is we looked at other opportunities and this was the best fit, it would be good to know where they looked. Because if we're going to try to defend this decision, and I'm not saying defend it, but I mean, talk about why did you pick this? There is a level of information that we could ask for and should ask for if, because I don't know what the other buildings were. Steve alluded to the fact that he had that information. Do you, Steve?
Yes, we've looked at any number of buildings and some typically just did not fit, so they weren't really taken into serious consideration. I'd also, just for your information, I would be happy to clarify that the resource group is generally, guess everybody can hear me? I just saw him.
Yeah.
Yep, we can.
The resource group is generally the department heads that were along with you on those 2 Thursdays or the second Thursday. IT, budget director, buildings and grounds, finance, et cetera. And the chair of the legislature is the only legislator that has been attending those meetings.
And Steve, is it fair to say that the 63 Genesee Street, you couldn't really go public with that? That's what I've been told, because there were people occupying that building and until the legislature had decided to move forward?
Well,
There's a whole host of reasons.
Yes.
Why, as a municipal government, when you're out looking at real estate, you do not want to make it public, either what you're looking at, the rates you're trying to negotiate, the locations, all those things, because, you know, it just makes it almost impossible to come to a sound negotiated result with wherever it is you're going to end up landing. So, I mean, it's very typical that a real estate transaction is held close to the vest until it's time to discuss it, work it out with the legislators, which we did in executive session, and then, you know, come to a conclusion one way or the other.
But I do believe that there has to be some level of open communication between all legislators and a final decision. So
I'm just giving you the legal.
No, that's
side of it. I'm not trying to debate.
no, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but we're not trusting the department heads as well as not take swearing oaths from everybody up here. We really have to have those levels of communication. But that's just my opinion. And I'm sure there's other people that agree with me as well. So moving forward on the other properties, I think we need to have a very open communication. One of the things that I tasked myself with doing was to visit department heads and getting their feedback on some of their experiences, but not only their experience, some of their suggestions. And if I'm getting those feedbacks and I can't articulate them, then I'm really wasting their time. You know, I really want to be able to communicate what their suggestions are, even if they're far-fetched and we can't do them. We're all hands on deck, and I do agree with Mark. I don't know why those comments, I didn't even see it in the paper.
Well, there's an article and it continues to run.
But I don't know why, whatever, but I could tell you myself, I would have wanted a little bit more information.
And I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you. But I want to be clear that night in the when the vote was taken, Mr. Petcher objected to the vote and the reasons that he stated. And then the chairwoman, you know, emphatically said, well, that's not true. Well, I can tell you that there's 4 legislators that are sitting here that didn't have that information until that night. And there's no transparency and there's no bipartisanship. And to me, if that continues, then we're going to have some issues, I guess. Because I feel that, you know, the taxpayers of this county deserve as much information so that, I don't know about you folks, but I've been stopped several times and they want to know, did you vote for that? That approved that bill? And I said, well, if you read the paper, you saw that they named me by name that I did not vote for it. So, I mean, and that's taxpayers coming to me as a legislator wanting to know why. And I don't have an answer for them. So I feel that the transparency needs to improve for everybody involved, especially us legislators, because that is a difficult decision to make. There are people that are working in less than ideal conditions, and it's not fair to them. And I don't like to be made the bad guy because I voted no, because I know that those people are working in bad conditions, and now they feel like, well, I don't support them. Well, that's not the case. So, you know, the bipartisanship and the transparency definitely needs to improve. And I appreciate, Brian, thank you for giving me the time to say that.
And I'll go one further too. I voted yes. All right, so, you know, I want to justify my yes. Okay, all right.
May I make a comment? Brian?
Yes.
Sometimes we as legislators think that we have to get our fingers into the day-to-day operations of everything. Our responsibility as legislature is mostly policy and budget. And if we're going to get into the day-to-day operations all the time, we're going to have a mess on our hands. It's difficult in our form of government, but we elect the chair of the legislature, and that person is one that's really that's in the day-to-day operations, and the rest of us should stay out of it. Policy of whether we get that building or not that's policy. That's something we decided. But the work, the day-to-day to get to that point is not our work. But that's just my opinion. I serve on many boards, and sometimes it's very easy for board members and legislators to want to do the day-to-day stuff. And it's not quite as rewarding to do the other work that we have to do. That's just my comment. Thank you.
All right, duly noted. Is there any other comments about this discussion or anything else?
Yeah. Well, basically, I stated my objections to the building, not that our people need a better workplace, basically because we were not consulted anywhere in the process. That's my major complaint. After the first months, I can understand there was panic, trying to get everybody cited or whatever. And but it's been 2 months at least that we should have been consulted as a group to thrash out various policies, as Ben just said, policies, okay? Where are we going with this? Are we going to resuscitate the building? Are we trying to abandon it? Those things should have been discussed by us in public, not in private, saying not anything about a particular purchase, but the general policy. And there was no such discussion. And our chair lady ought to be here tonight, and the previous heads of the county have made it a policy to be at these meetings, committee meetings and all that, to know what's going on. We're not saying that. It's being led by, I guess, Steve, and, I wonder about that. Enough said. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Move it, Mark.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think there's any abstentions. Send it. No. Don't tell me, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Short, eh? We got a quorum.
Let's get going.
Who's the other agenda?
Go away.
Where you at?
Can I sit up here even though I'm not on the committee? Okay,
Don't be,
I won't talk.
don't be harassing me.
Oh. That's a whole.
All right, we have a quorum. Everybody is here except for Heidi, who has been excused. So I'll call the meeting to order and I'll look for a motion to approve the prior minutes.
I move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. You don't have a lot of resolutions. The packet is pretty thick, but there's some pretty extensive reports here, and Carrie's is pretty extensive, but I don't see Carrie. Oh, she's on the, okay. Carrie, you have anything to follow up with your report?
No, I'm good. You guys all got the updated information from the NYSERDA grants that were submitted today. Hopefully there'll be no out-of-pocket costs for us. It looks like everything will be covered with incentives and the grant funds.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions or anything for Carrie?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Kelly?
Good evening. I just want to touch a little bit on our summer youth employment program, and then I'll get into my resolution after that.
Okay.
But we're just wrapping up our summer program. That program is money through OTDA, so it's all TANF funds. This year, Cayuga County had received $224,000 to be spent from May through the end of September. Spent out almost all of that money by having 60 youth participate in our program, so that was excellent. And then that kind of leads me into a little bit of information on what's now called, well, not what's now called, but what's called the YEP program. So I want to give a little background about that, and then I'll go into my resolution. But some history, the Summer Youth Employment Program is a program that we have operated for since 2000, I believe. That is strictly impoverished children, ages 14 to 20, with TANF dollars, and it's only been for the summer. So right now, Cayuga County actually, through this GIVE grant, has been awarded for the first time $401,000 through the same funding stream, so through OTDA. And that money will go through the Department of Social Services to basically extend the summer program. It's designed to wrap around the program that employment training already operates. That money would then be used to extend the kids if they're able to, also to bring in new kids and offer employment opportunities with some education component to that. So that money was actually accepted by Christine Bianco last week at HHS. So she did resolution to accept and bring the funds into DSS. And the intention is to enter into a contract with Cayuga County Employment and Training to operate the year-round employment program and just extend our summer program. So that being said, in order to do that, I have put a resolution forward to fill a vacant workforce development program assistant to solely operate the YEP program, because that is a large amount of money to be able to, and I'm very happy, extremely happy to bring that money into our department. It's helpful in a lot of ways, but bringing on a program assistant to take on that program is what I brought my resolution forward tonight.
Thank you. So let's have a motion to for the resolution in a second, then we can have the discussion for it.
A motion it.
A motion in a second. Aldro DeVito. Okay. Discussion. I guess I'll start it by this does not affect the county budget at all. This is all money that's passed through DSS or
Correct.
DSS to employment and training, right?
So the money goes to DSS. We enter into a contract similar to our jobs contract that we currently have, zero local share. That money is funded through OTDA, no cost to the county at all.
Any other questions from legislators? Tom?
I guess not a question, but just in the wording of the resolution itself. Where it says training, second line, training department due to entering a contact with the Department of Social Services.
Yes, it's a contract.
Should it be entering into a contract?
It should be contract.
Contract, not contact.
I caught that.
Does our attorney want us to have a amendment to? the
Friendly
resolution?
amendment.
Thank you.
Friendly amendment. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Finish it and try it.
Doug?
All right, good evening, everybody. Set the report, I guess the only thing I'd add to it would be next week. Let's hope this weather holds out. We have conservation field days. Thanks, Doug and Exton Park for hosting. There's gonna be a bunch of sixth graders up here covering a lot of different classes and a lot of cool stuff that's gonna be happening. We've been doing it for years now. Park's always been great about it, so good luck if you have days like this. Is perfect. All the kids will be crazy because it'll be nice out, but hey, it's gonna be good. So I'll be next Tuesday, Wednesday. And we're expecting several hundred kids like we always do. So that's good. And then just lastly, I was trying to highlight good news. You guys may have seen the positive publicity about the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition and the $42 million that's going to be coming amongst the 11 conservation districts to share to get best management practices on the ground. So we're going to share that funding, more to come, because we just got to deal with contract with the state and everything. But it's good, positive news to get out there. So that coupled with the previous report of 1.2 million for capacity funds for the districts, we're going to be pretty busy, just like we are now here in construction season. So exciting things to come to each of the lakes too. So it hits the river, Skaneateles Lake, Owasco Lake, Cayuga Lake. Those watersheds will be eligible for projects to be completed. So more to come, but I always try to highlight good positive stuff happening.
That's an allocation for 5 years.
That'll be, yeah, that's dedicated funding, non-competitive funding. So it's going to come to us and we can just start getting ready to jam projects in based on engineering. So it's exciting.
We're all done with weed harvesting, right?
All done. It'll be done this week. Actually, we're helping out on Dodge County Soil and Water right now. Bill, I was just talking to Jim about it. We're probably gonna wrap up tomorrow. Supposed to come back, we'll do some maintenance on them, tuck them away, let them sleep for a little while. Let's come back out in June. It's good. The guys are probably ready to get out the water. It's been a long summer. So.
Anybody have any questions for Doug? All right, thank you, Doug. Carl?
I'd like to apologize for omission of a written report. Got lost in the timeline, but I just want to update everyone on the Cayuga Lake Protection Project. The authority at the last board meeting decided to engage engineer on the preliminary work for the map plan and report. The map plan report is the first step you need for district formation. The map plan report will define the district and describe the property within. It's a large piece of work that needs to be done. It's very important at this point for us because we're in the beginning of the grant funding rounds, and this will really help our project be considered a shovel-ready project, which should increase our score towards getting grants. There's been a lot of good news lately. There's a big focus on the lakes. I think this project will be considered very viable, as we've all seen in the newspaper the last few days. There's a lot of attention getting put on Cayuga Lake. A lot of people depend on Cayuga Lake for their drinking water. So it's a very valuable resource and it's really a gem for the county. This puts Cayuga County in a very, very good position to be able to say that 95% of the properties in Cayuga County on Cayuga Lake would be sewered at the completion of this project. Any questions? Yes.
Just, I did attend the meeting, even though I'm not on it, with Jonathan, and some of the steps you're taking are very much so that the funders will look favorably that this is getting closer to being ready than it was. Because you could get 40 to 60% of funding for the project. The more you do a little bit ahead of time, the stronger the application is.
Right. This just shows that we're confident that we have a good project and that we're willing to take the initiative to move the project forward. And the funding agencies like you to be confident.
Any other questions? Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kyle, I don't think he's on, but you have his report. Pretty much what he does and next would be Tony.
How's everybody doing this evening? So I don't really have any updates. I do have one redaction. I notated that the elevator at HPO was completed. It was supposed to be completed Monday. The vendor's technician had a couple of their techs come down with the seasonal flu. So I'm hoping by tomorrow, the next day, we'll have that part up and running for historic post office. Other than that, everything's in my notes. Questions?
Any legislators have any questions for Tony? Otherwise, thank you very much. All right, Doug?
Hello. I don't have anything to add to that. You know, we're winding down the summer season as far as our outdoor concerts. They were very well attended this summer. We obviously appreciate everybody's support for those. Theater operations, wedding operations continue long into the winter. Theater runs another month. We have still a ton of weddings and we get a lot of business through that facility, as well as some more concerts and some promoter inquiries for next year's programming, as well as the ongoing programming here in this building and at the nature center too. We'll wrap up any of our current construction projects. We've worked with some of the water with Brian's team around the county, so we obviously appreciate their support, but I don't have anything else in addition to that to add.
You gonna be ready for us later on in the month up in Sterling?
Forward to it. This will be, we've probably had about a half a dozen meetings there so far, anywhere from 15 to 50 people. Including a tour of the board meeting, several NOAA meetings up at the facilities. Oh, and 2 new turtles. We got 2 turtles up there that needed to be rehomed from the DEC, so we have a set up for them. So we'll get a taxpayer no matter what.
Any questions for Doug? Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And last but not least, Brian.
Have anything to add? If anybody has any questions? I have 2 resolutions.
You have 2 resolutions, it looks like, right?
Yes.
To have a motion for PPW 2.
So that,
Yeah, motion in a second. Hans and DeVito. Any questions on PPW 2 or is there any comments that you need to make or want to make?
It's just authorizing us to accept the insurance fund.
Replace the truck.
Replace the truck that wrecked 2 months ago.
Questions? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. PPW 3. Motion for PPW 3. Hans,
second,
seconded. DeVito. Again, have any comments or?
It's to hire my seasonal MEOs to complete our, so we have enough drivers to plow snow.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Any other business to come before this committee? Yes, Tom.
I don't know if you recognize Dan Welch from.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan, you're in my face today. Thanks, Tom.
Just one update I'd like to make to my report. I underestimated the number of youth that we had who exhibited at state fair. So we had 15, which was number I thought in my head. Talked to my staff. We had 23 youth that exhibited at state fair, and just some quick highlights. We had one young gentleman who had Supreme Champion Ram and Flock in his class. We had 2 youth that placed first in their Browns, showing their Brown Swiss in their class. Young lady that got second place in showmanship with a Brown Swiss for the 11 to 12-year-old group. So want to give them all, congratulations on
Yeah, the 4-H program really seems to be stepping up a notch every year now. So really appreciate the work that's getting done there. Any other questions? Any questions for?
Move to adjourn.
No, wait.
Oh.
We also forgot.
Karen.
Karen.
I was
Karen.
gonna say, I'm hanging out
Sorry.
here very quietly, waiting my turn,
know-
sir.
Knew you were in Saratoga, so I don't know why.
Well, I had some time after a meeting, so I thought I'd just jump in and say exactly that. Greetings from Saratoga. We're here representing Cayuga County in the conversation about the America 250, and also to receive a couple of awards from the New York State Tourism Industry Alliance. You've got my report. I'm open for any questions.
Any questions for Karen? Thank you and congratulations on the awards.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll bring more back from Saratoga.
Thanks.
Other than that, next month I'm going to switch the order around because Brian always has to wait till the end. Tonight he didn't have to. That's my own fault, but other than that, motion to adjourn.
To adjourn, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
You guys.
Better.
I have to think.